Hey there, thanks for joining me. I'm meteorologist Peyton Malone. We are talking about the tropics here. The National Hurricane Center, they're going to be monitoring the northwestern Gulf here this week for maybe some development. Right now, they're still giving it a very low chance of something spinning up off the Texas and maybe Louisiana coast here in the next probably 3-4 days or so. Now, the chance of this happening is still very, very low. We've got it at 20% right now, but I do think there's going to be an opportunity for some low pressure to spin up. And at the end of the day, regardless, this thing is going to be a big rainmaker for a few people. And we'll talk about that in just a second. But this is the disturbance. It moved over towards Tampico, Mexico yesterday, and it's going to try to reemerge over the northern Gulf here in the next few days. And that's when it'll have that opportunity to try to spin up. Luckily, there is a lot of wind shear in the northern Gulf, so it's probably going to keep this thing from developing anything significant. But this time of year, we've got two things to watch out for. Yeah, the tropical moisture, but a cool front coming south. And notoriously, this can lead to some fairly significant rain totals for someone. So what I think is going to happen here in the next few days is we're going to start to see some low pressure spinning up here off the Texas coast. And it's not going to be in a hurry to move. So this is going to start to produce some big rain totals by the middle of the week. Now, for southeast Louisiana, our forecast, I wouldn't call it a complete washout, but I do think as this front gets closer, we're going to start to see more numerous heavy rain storms or downpours firing up through the Tuesday time frame. So here's that low pressure. You can see it trying to spin up there off the Texas coast, hugging the coastline, but at the end of the day, it's just a big rainmaker. So anywhere from Corpus Christi up through Houston, maybe over towards Lake Charles, that's where I'm mostly concerned with significant rain totals as we go through the beginning and the middle of this week. Now, as you get more into southeast Louisiana, I am going to be watching our risk for heavy rain as well, but I think our flood risk may be a bit more isolated than what they've got going on just to the west of us. So the movement of all this right now, this disturbance is currently trapped under this ridge of high pressure that's keeping it not moving very quickly down here in Mexico. Now this ridge is going to start to back away and weaken as this big trough digs down. That will allow this little area of disturbed weather to start to slowly lift north. Now the other factor is that trough is producing a cold front that's coming south. Those two things clashing right here, and that's why we've got that heavy rain risk right in this area. So as we go through the Wednesday, Thursday time frame, if there's low pressure off the Texas coast, it's more than likely going to start to lift north then, keeping it west of the New Orleans area. Now, this is going to be an unorganized thing. So you can imagine on the east side of this, whatever low pressure is trying to spin up, there's going to be a lot of moisture and rain, which means that flood risk is going to exist probably from the Texas coast up into western parts of Louisiana and may try to extend closer to southeast Louisiana. These are our blended rain totals. Now, this doesn't paint the whole picture, but it gives you an idea on how this is going to evolve. As we go through this week, I think the more widespread big rain totals of 5 to maybe 10 inches are going to be northwest of southeast Louisiana. So from Lake Charles down to Houston, the Texas coast, up to Shreveport, Alexandria, really the entire state, excluding far southeast Louisiana. And you can see how those colors change very quickly in southeast Louisiana here. So I'm forecasting widespread 2 to 4 inches here across our area, but those totals could go up quite dramatically and quickly the further north you get. Now, these are overall really kind of a blanket rainfall total. There are probably going to be a few spots here in our area that do pick up much more than 2 to 4 inches of rain. And that's why we do have at least a flood risk going through the beginning and middle of the week. Now, when you look at actual model runs, what I showed you just now was a handmade forecast by meteorologists. These are specific models. They really do have some red flashing lights here. And you can see they've got a couple hot spots. A European model shows a weak low pressure near Houston, lifting up the state line. That produces 10 plus inches of rain. A lot of rain. Sloppy, no-name systems this time of year are infamous for producing significant flooding somewhere. The GFS model has the big-time rain totals a little bit further down the Texas coast, but it does have 10-plus inches of rain on its model, too, or on the map. So that's got our attention that there are probably going to be a few spots closer to Texas or maybe western Louisiana that see some big-time rains from this later this week. Southeast Louisiana, the picture looks about the same. You can see those rainfall totals drop off quite a bit as you get closer and closer to the coast. So the further north, bigger rain. The further south, less and less rain. With that being said, I do still think we all have an opportunity to see a flooding downpour here or there. So today's flood risk, not a big deal for your Sunday. Monday, that flood risk starts to ramp up closer to that cold front, which is north of us. We'll have a few downpours around for your Monday. Tuesday is likely going to be the best chance of widespread rain across South Louisiana. That's partly tied to that cold front coming in and that tropical moisture surging in from the south. But Tuesday is the day I'm really watching right now for us in New Orleans. Wednesday, you could see just a general thinking of some downpours, but you start to see that little sliver along the Texas coast as that low pressure is trying to spin up. I do think that flood risk is going to be much higher along the Texas coast for Wednesday and Thursday, and then perhaps that low spreading north, that flood risk will start to gradually go north along with it. So that's what we're tracking here with this week low. You don't need a named storm. You don't need a hurricane to have significant impacts. I do think this low pressure could be a big rainmaker, especially the closer you get to the Texas and Louisiana state line here later this week. So our 7-day forecast, I've got some weather impact alerts because we're going to be watching out for some scattered downpours tomorrow. Better shot of more widespread rain on Tuesday. Still some widespread or scattered storms on Wednesday. And then for Thursday and Friday, if that low pressure is closer to Texas, our rain chances are probably going to be more isolated. But if that low pressure gets a little closer to Louisiana, then we may have to bump up our rain chances through the end of this week. And with a weak low pressure, it's naturally going to turn a little breezier through the end of this week as well. One silver lining, it's not going to be nearly as hot with rain chances going up. So today for Sunday, it's hot and muggy and summery. Tomorrow, scattered storms still hot in the 80s on Tuesday with rain around, 80s on Wednesday. And then if we keep those rain chances at 40 to 50%, our highs will top out in the low 90s for your Friday and Saturday. We're going to be watching this for you all week long. Do expect some updates in the forecast as we watch this weak low pressure try to come together. There is uncertainty on where that could happen and how close it's going to get to us. But at the end of the day, I think you should just plan on having some rain in the forecast as we go through the upcoming week. I hope everyone has a wonderful start to the work week on Monday.